And we are back, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Not a Rabbi podcast, where we talk about Jewish topics and find interesting things to discuss within said topics. I think my tagline is a little bit better than that, but I quite frankly forgot what it was, so I'll just go with that for the time being. Welcome back. I do apologize for the absence. I'm sure everybody missed me greatly, but when your wife has surgery on her leg, as I pointed out in the Museletter a month ago, things got a little bit more complicated than I expected, and we now are here. So anyway, we are back. As always, would like to thank the wonderful people, the moderators of the unofficial Fifth Column podcast Discord channel, or Discord server, I should say, for allowing me to use their live chat featuring or live video voice thing conglomeration. And we are going to be using, we're using that as always. And we do have that live studio audience in front of me virtually, but happy to be back, really. Happy to be back, getting back to normal. Just a quick update with regard to that. My wife is doing a lot better. She hasn't started to walk yet. God willing, that will be happening relatively soon. And that will really make everybody, and by everybody I mean my wife and I, feel a whole lot better about how things are progressing. Last time we went to the doctor right before Passover, he said things are really going well with the recovery of the surgery. So we're very, very happy about that. Got a good show for you, I think, today. What we're going to be talking about, we have a couple of news articles that I thought were interesting and I wanted to bring up. Additionally, we have to talk about this concept called a Passover Program. What it is and why somebody would go on it. And the reason that this is coming up really is because my wife and I did this year. For the first, we've been married now for 30 and a half years. And we had never gone away for a Passover. And so we're going to talk about what the experience was like and why people would actually go into doing such a thing. As always, if you have any questions, or any comments, feel free to sign up and hit me up on the in the comment section of the Not a Rabbi Substack. Feel free to subscribe to the Not a Rabbi Substack. Of course, you can do that. This way you'll get an email when the podcast comes out. You'll get my weekly newsletter. I try to do these things roughly about twice a month, and we're going to continue doing that. But let's first get into the news. And the first news article I'm going to talk about here is something which I had mentioned in a previous article, or previous podcast, I should say, regarding, and this was regarding Orthodox Jews being drafted and playing professional sports. And so this came up, strangely enough, the Yeshiva University puts out a publication for every holiday called Insert Holiday Here to Go. And it's a magazine, I guess you could say, with Torah thoughts on it. This year, for Passover, they were talking about the idea of Jewish identity and how people feel Jewish identity, and how you can gain yourself a Jewish identity. And what one of the articles that were in there was actually an article from the head coach of the Yeshiva University men's basketball team, Division III. They made it to the Sweet 16 of the Division III basketball tournament one year. Don't know how they did this past year. I don't follow college basketball anymore. Never follow Division III college basketball, for that matter. So anyhow, it talked about being a somebody in sports with, and how do you keep your Jewish identity in that? I think everybody remembers, or maybe not everyone remembers, and this is a joke that the guy mentioned in the article, where from the movie Airplane, which was a awesome movie, and where I got a lot of my sense of humor from. I'm sure nobody's surprised by that. But anyway, somebody asked for some, on the airplane, somebody asked for some light reading. And what the flight attendant handed him was a leaflet that said Jewish sports heroes. And it was, I think, maybe one-sided or two-sided. I don't even remember that. But, you could really count the number of Jewish sports heroes on one hand and probably have several fingers left over. Be that as it may, so he was talking about this topic, and one of the things that he mentioned was that it's actually his son who was one of the first Jewish individual, Orthodox Jewish individual, drafted by a Major League Baseball team, Jacob Steinmetz. I don't remember which podcast this was that I had done it in. I'll try to post a link to the podcast as well if you want to go back and listen to that one. But anyway, and he talked about Jacob Steinmetz, and he referenced an article that was done from the Washington Post, and back last year in August 2023, August 31st, which was the day after my wife and I had our 30th wedding anniversary, by the way. But the title of it is How the First Orthodox Jew in a Major League Baseball Organization is Making It Work. And it goes through, some of the questions that he had, such as how is he going to be able to keep kosher while making his way through the small towns in the minor leagues? How would he absorb Shabbos, abstain from riding in cars and buses, on Shabbos as well? I believe I actually am, also added the fact with praying. How is, generally, you could pray individually by yourself in Judaism. That's not a problem. However, it is a better idea to pray with a quorum, with what we call a minyan, 10 men, and we, there's a higher level of prayer, I guess you could say, where the prayer is, accepted, and it's a higher level. So anyway, he had these same questions, and he was very worried about it. And it talks about how the assistant general manager of the Diamondbacks, the Arizona Diamondbacks, who Jacob was drafted by, told him, "We got you. Everything that you need, we're going to take care of for you," which is very, very nice. He is this year, and last year actually, he's playing at the low Class A Vizala Rawhide in California. And this is a full season, which I didn't know. I thought it was a short season, but it is a full season minor league stadium. And it's there are lots of complicated things, and Shabbos is one of the major issues with regard to being an Orthodox, Jew, and how you navigate being an Orthodox Jew, and as well being a professional baseball player or a professional basketball player. In the other case, there's an individual, and his name slipped me, and I slipped my mind, but he is playing for the Detroit the Detroit Pistons G League, entry, that they are also in Detroit. But I don't follow basketball, so it'd be hard for me to talk more intelligently about that. Anyway, he actually walks to the ballpark several miles there and back before and after games, and he will consume prepared kosher meals that they that they make sure that the Diamondbacks make sure that they have for him. And additionally, I should say, they try to schedule his starts because he is a pitcher. So they try to schedule his starts around around Shabbos. So this way he doesn't pitch on a Friday night or Shabbos or the Saturday Shabbos afternoon. And so it'll be either in the beginning of the week or later in the week, which I found very nice as well, that they're really, really trying to be accommodating to him. And it goes through his history about it. He actually apparently pitched for Israel during the 2023 World Baseball Classic, which is a tournament that they have trying to mimic the World Cup. It's definitely nowhere as good as the World Cup, and it's a lot of issues, but that's a different story altogether. And so it goes through this. Kitchen 18, the California League. Let's get back to that. When he was in the rookie league, that was in Arizona's spring training complex. That was a 10-minute drive to a kosher place to eat. That's not a problem. However, the California League, as the Washington Post article puts it, is a kosher desert. However, they have some help, and 12 kosher meals are packed in dry ice and delivered to wherever Steinmetz will be playing. And the Arizona Diamondbacks take care of the bill. Okay, so that's, and then it talks about him using a bicycle, which is an interesting question, and I think that might be going farther down a rabbit hole than I'm willing to go right now. And it does mention the other Orthodox Jew who was drafted in that same draft, in fact. His name is Eli Kligman, and he is playing collegiately, and he won't play on the Shabbos. He won't play on Shabbos either. The Diamondbacks do not ask him to as well. So it's very interesting. It's an interesting article. You could obviously go ahead and take a look and read the article, and we'll see how things go. Now, I happen to have also brought up Jacob's statistics as well, and this is from baseballreference.com. I will post a link into the show notes as well for you to read. He is actually looks like 2 years younger than everybody else is supposed to be, if I'm reading this age differential stat correct. So he is 20 years old. I guess your general player in the California League is probably 22. That would be my guess. What is he doing so far? So he's pitched in 4 games. He started all of them, 17 innings, so he's roughly going about 4 innings per start, which is not surprising for young players to be doing something like that. He's got 19 strikeouts in those 17 innings, so that's a good, and 10 walks, not a bad ratio. He has given up 20 hits. That's a little bit of a problem. ERA overall is 4.67. You really don't worry about, ERA in minor league parks because there are a lot of different variables that can go on with that. Nobody's a major league ready at that level yet, and there are always going to be issues. Obviously, when you go up to AA and then to AAA, the quality of the play gets better as it goes on. But this is very interesting. Overall, what's his overall statistics for him playing in A ball? He is posting an ERA of 5.9, which, as we say in French, ain't great. He's got 90 innings pitched. He has given up 97 hits in that. He has given up a total of 54 walks, and he has had 81 strikeouts. Control issues. That's what it seems to be. But anyway, very interesting stuff about Jacob Steinmetz. And I was wondering how these guys were doing, and it's good to know. how he's doing. And the other one as well, he is in a college. I don't know which college it is, but it's interesting to know these things. All right. Any questions from the greater audience? Okay, we are good. So then let's move on to the next subject here. And this is a favorite of mine, quite frankly, this topic, which is biblical archaeology. I think I've talked about my like of this once in a while. And this was an article that was done in March. Talking about ancient Israel's Tyrian purple factory. Now, why is this interesting? You may be asking yourself. And what I'm going to do is I am going to open up a new tab, and I'm going to bring up Safaria, which is one of my favorite resources for Judaism in terms of texts and bringing it up. And I would like to quickly read to you from the book of Numbers. And we are talking about, what chapter are we talking about? We are talking about chapter 15, and we are talking about verse 38. And it says, "Speak to the Bnei Yisrael, the children of Israel, and tell them to make for themselves tzitzis, which are fringes, on the corners of their garments throughout their generations, and they will place with the fringes of each corner a thread of blue." So the biblical commandment here is to have a thread of blue, and what we understand that as is it has to come, and this is we get this in the Talmud, that it comes from a animal in Hebrew called the chilazon, and we had lost what this animal actually is for a very, very long time, and then it is recently, probably since the early 2000s, mid 2000s, I actually have a book talking about this, that they have rediscovered what this is, and also rediscovered what the process is for actually making this dye. Again, I don't want to go too inside baseball for this, but it's a very interesting process. This is something that had always interested me as a child when I was reading about this chilazon and what could this be, and it's a mysterious thing, we don't know about it. It's almost like cryptozoology to a degree, right? And we had to figure it, it had to be figured out. And eventually, a lot of people did some scholarly research on it, and it turns out that it is a snail where it's believed to be a snail, and I believe it's from a snail, called the Murex trunculus, which is the Latin name for it. And there are several actually other types of Murex types of snails as well, and they have found this, I guess you could call it a workshop, or a factory, really, because that's what the headline says. It's a factory, and they've shown that they're using this to make what was called Tyrian purple, and which is very similar to the color that it's supposed to be for this techeles, for this sky blue. Was that the right? Was it a thread of blue? Right. There's a whole section of the Talmud there's a whole almost a chapter in the Talmud that deals with the issue of the making of the techeles and all of these types of things. Again, don't want to go too far into the inside baseball and too deep down the rabbit hole on that. I know I use that expression a lot. Sorry, but you're just gonna have to deal with it. Anyway, so it talks about this, and what's very fascinating is, and I have a couple of books on this. Actually, I have a book here which actually talks about. I haven't read it yet. I have a book here called The Rarest Blue, which talks about the rediscovery of the Murex trunculus as the correct identification of the what in Hebrew is again called the chilazon, and we go ahead and we do that. And this eventually, what happened is, why did it fade out? Why did we lose what's going on with it? Is that the Romans, when they had taken over Egypt, or not Egypt, sorry, let me strike that out of there. When they had taken over Israel, they had outlawed this color, and it could only be worn by royalty. And it seems like it was punishable by death if you were caught wearing something with this color. In fact, the Talmud talks about a case where somebody was going ahead and got captured with it, and the like. So eventually the whole idea, since it was people were stopped wearing it because of this potential death threat against them for wearing it by the government, they decided to just go ahead and not wear it, and just use the 8 fringes that we have on a 4-cornered in Hebrew called a beged, which is the word I was about to use. So we have that. What's another interesting fact about the techeles is that there is another color, or another composition called indigo, which does give you the exact same color that you need for the techeles, and it is almost indistinguishable by humans. Humans are not able to do that even at the molecular level, and so you have to really be careful about it. And again, the Talmud talks about that, that God is the only one that knows the difference between that, and so you got to be careful about it, because if you think you're going to be fooling humans, you can certainly fool humans, but you aren't able to fool God with that, and causing people not to, taking advantage of people in that way. So, very interesting article about this factory and what it did. And the article actually mentions in the Bible, purple garments are mentioned primarily regarding the wardrobe of the priesthood and royalty, and the decoration of the tabernacle and the temple, which is 100% true as well. There's a link to another article about this. This link will again be in the show notes. So if you would like me to, if any comments about that, any questions, feel free to put them into the chat, not in the chat, but into the comments of the podcast, or you could always ask a question here in the live chat as well, as I keep wanting to do that, and I don't know why I'm not doing things properly here. Hold on. There we go. Okay. So, but there are no questions, so let's move on. And that will bring us to the main discussion that we're looking to have today, and that is a Passover program. I talked about Passover last year for the podcast. I'll try to put a link in the show notes for that if you'd like to listen to it. If you haven't listened to it beforehand until now, if you want to listen to it another time, you could go ahead and do that as well. You are totally allowed. I do allow it. In any event, With obviously a quick background, with my wife's surgery and, really being off of her feet for the past month and a half, if not longer, seems like a whole lot longer to me at this point, but it might be shorter than that. But regardless, it would have been basically on me to get the entire house ready for Passover. And that would include bringing up things, that would include, that we have our Passover dishes and our Passover supplies in a closet in my recording area. And we have a lot of other stuff, for Passover and we put away things, and we'd have to get the kitchen ready, and not to mention a lot of cooking. This would, the majority of it would be upon me, if not all of it. Right? My wife listens to the podcast, so I got to say at least the majority of it. So I can't say it's going to all be on me, otherwise I get in a lot of trouble. So anyhow. We had to look into alternatives. One of the alternatives that somebody suggested to us is maybe go to one of these Passover programs. Now, what are these Passover programs about? Well, what they do is there's a multiple of them, but there are a couple of touring companies out there that will rent a hotel for the 8 days, 9 days, 9-10 days for Passover. They will prepare the kitchen, get it kosher. They will also then go ahead and have a caterer, and they will get the guests in, and they will cater an entire Passover for guests. And the guests are there in this hotel. And we went to one of these. Now, we happen to have gone to one that was very budget friendly, I should say, and we were able to do that because it was cheap. You think about it: 8 days, 9 days, 8 days of food, lodging, the like. It's but some of these places, and you could, they have these all over. They have them in Mexico. They have them in Costa Rica. They have them in, in Egypt, ironically enough, right? They have them, they have them complete, I'm, looking at a website here. They have in Central America. They have in Dubai. They have in different places in Europe, in Greece, in Spain, in Italy, Switzerland, Portugal, Cyprus, France, United Kingdom, all over the place, the Bahamas, Brazil. I mean, you name it. They have it all over. It's totally crazy. And then the prices that they generally charge for these things are insane as well. I mean, you can imagine you're looking at probably 10 grand easy for a regular program here in the U.S. If you're going to go to another country, that's probably 18,000, if not more. So it's amazing. It's totally, and here in the U.S. you have Florida, California, New Jersey, although I don't know why you'd want to go to New Jersey, New York, Maryland, Arizona, Connecticut, Georgia, Ohio, Colorado, and Vermont. So you have all of these places, and it's the like I mentioned before, my wife and I had never done this before. I'd always said, maybe we should really do it one time, so at least we know what we're missing. So we wound up having to do it this year, and I know what I'm missing now, and to tell you the truth, I don't think I'm missing much. I'm sure, like I said, this was a budget-friendly program, which is, what you're getting. You get what you pay for when you go into it, and I'm not trying to discount the program in any shape or form because it was a budgeted program. not trying to do that, but it's amazing. That was just like so many, as they say in, as the line goes in Pulp Fiction, it's the small differences that really jar you sometimes. And I think that was with me as well, and I think with my wife, because when we got into the dining room for the first time for the first Seder on Monday night, it was this cacophony of sound going on, because all of these families were in this one dining room going ahead and making their own individual seders, nothing else. And that was what's going on. And you had some people who were just starting. And, my wife and I got there a little bit late, so we were on that just starting side. And then you had people that were in the middle. They had people that were, getting to the main course already. So there was this real craziness, and it was really loud. Not to mention the fact that, where we were seated, it was a little bit difficult because we were on this corner table for couples, and we had to go to, we had to navigate with my wife's wheelchair. It was not easy. So thankfully, the maitre d' set us up a separate table for the second, for the second night, starting then, and it made a big difference to us, or at least to me. I think to my wife as well. One of the advantages of this type of thing, though, is that you have the ability to socialize, and you have the ability to meet new people. Now, this was at least for me, this was very important for my wife, because otherwise she would have been stuck at home doing absolutely not a lot and doing almost no socializing unless somebody came to visit her. And that wouldn't have been optimal, let's say. That probably would have been suboptimal, because she would have gone pretty crazy. But now she got a chance to meet new people. She got a chance to, we did meet some new people. We liked some people. We played Jewish geography, which is always very nice. There was actually an individual there who remembered my father-in-law, and so that was, and had known my father-in-law, and knows my aunt, or my wife's aunt, and so that we talked to them a little bit. So it was a very nice, very, very nice, time. I think, like, overall, I would probably give it a 6.5 out of 5. I'm sorry, it's not a 6.5 out of 5, a 6.5 out of 10. Giving it a 6.5 out of 5 would be pretty crazy. No, we're going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. I could see the interest for people doing this type of thing, but definitely not for me. Definitely not for us. Just too weird. It's like kind of like, Passover is made to be at home. You're supposed to be at home. You're supposed to make the Seder. You're supposed to be with your family. Having all of your family come and go to this hotel, there seems to be something missing in the translation, something missing in the spirit of it, I think. And so, so I would, like I said, it was a nice time. It was definitely something that my wife and I needed to get away a little bit, and we did so. But I definitely would not recommend this being done. Not this being done, but I don't think for us, I should say, that we're going to be doing this a second time unless something medically happens where we got to do it a second time. All right, let's take a look. Any questions here? Okay, no questions. So anyway, since there are no questions, we're going to end the episode here. Thank you very much for listening. Once again, thank you very much to Logan Eastman for creating the intro music that we have. Also, thank you very much to the moderators of the unofficial Fifth Column podcast Discord server for letting me take up some of their space. And that is it. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Hopefully, God willing, I will be talking about Shabbos like I had mentioned that I would be doing a while ago. But this episode kind of wanted to get it out of there before I forgot everything and didn't talk about everything. And I'm sure my wife will add some comments in the comment section of the Substack of the Substack page for this podcast. And any questions, you could go there. Don't forget to subscribe to the Substack podcast. Don't forget to restack this if you do that. Don't forget to like this podcast, like this thing as well. Thank you very much, folks. I'm Aaron Benedict, and I am not a rabbi.